Well, last year's victory, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with this year, but it was a very significant game, as you know, because it secured home field advantage for us. It was an overtime win. There was a 2-point play at the end of the game with 3 minutes and something to go to allow us to go into overtime. And then, of course, the long run by Derek Ward put us in position at the end of the game. So inspired is a very good word. We're all inspired. We're all excited. And we're excited about, coming off of a win this particular time of the year. The Carolina team that's just played an outstanding game, as I said, a very physical game. A team that runs the ball very well, has the big play threat with Steve Smith, is a very good defensive team, very physical, doesn't give up many points. Well, they continue to rush the ball for lots of yards, so that they've done a nice job of adjusting their front. And, they're a very patient run the ball team, and they will run the ball and throw the ball out of run sets, even in situations and down and distance that you think perhaps might project them into another personnel set.
They have some difficult guys, obviously, to handle on their defense, especially up front. Your offensive line had a bit of struggles earlier in the year. It looks like the last couple of weeks they're kind of putting things together. Do you feel that they're playing much better right now? That they're better for the aggressive pass?
Well, I think we are. Of course, you have to enter into the multiplicity of something like that. In other words, I'm talking about utilizing the tight ends and utilizing the backs and everyone that has to be involved with making sure that you can protect, a rush such as the one that Carolina does present. It always does. It always means extra motivation, and it means that the opportunity for us to play in front of our fans one more time in a very significant game, the opportunity for us to utilize the 12th man, if you will. I thought our fans have done a really good job, especially on third down situations as we've come down here through the stretch with divisional opponents. And we'll need everyone excited and involved in the game this weekend as well. Plus, if it is the final home game at Giant Stadium, and there's a lot of historical significance to that game as well. And we can go down memory lane as much as you'd like. But, I remember many, many years ago, just before I ever got involved even in professional football, to think that Giant Stadium, I always thought, was the greatest football stadium in the world. And it was always an honor and a privilege and an eye-opener to bring a college team or whatever I was associated with into that stadium. And then, of course, when I had the opportunity to come here as an assistant coach, it was extremely meaningful to me and my family, being from New York State and having always been a fan of and been aware of and watched from the time I was a little guy, black and white TV, the Giants, always the Giants and the Browns in those days, but that's what it was. We use everything we possibly can use, we'll use.
What was your first memory of coming to Giant Stadium? Remember the first time you ever stepped in?
First time I ever stepped in, I can remember a couple of disappointing ones. I was at Syracuse. We played Penn State here one time and got our butts kicked. But I remember lots of things about it. I remember when I went to BC and then coming here for the Big East meetings and sitting out in the stadium doing interviews with people and having some of the Giant players walk by. That was pretty cool. That was kind of neat. Everyone has to learn a lot about the pro game, about the sophistication. He certainly came from an outstanding program and did a great job as a college player, and that's why Steve is here. But Steve has learned, and he has refined, and he has really worked hard on his game, and it's always gratifying to have somebody bust their butt and have the kind of year he's having and utilize that as an example for others. But no matter what position you're in, it's an eye-opener to come into the professional game.
Did you see the way the team played the other night? At any point, do you think yourself, where has this team been for the last 2 months?
No, I didn't. It's a build-up, and we talked about all the different things we had to do in order to win. We did the majority of those things the other night, and I would prefer to just say, hey, fellas, we're talking about a consistency issue here. We've got to have this kind of performance for the next 2 weeks, and improvement in areas that weren't as good as they should be, but also recognizing a lot of the things that we did see that were outstanding.
Tom, from afar, it looks like Peppers could be a one-man wrecking crew on any given Sunday. Is he doing more finesse stuff or power stuff, and are they moving him around at all?
Sure, they're moving him around. They play him on the right, they play him on the left. They can play him anywhere they want. He showed the other night speed on the edge and also power. McKinney's a darn good football player, and he had the power move, which kind of put McKinney in the lap of the quarterback a couple of times. And even when Minnesota went to the chip game and got themselves in position to help, he was still a force. So he played very well. He is a guy that you have to spend extra time with. But when you do that, they have a lot of other good football players that all of a sudden end up one-on-one and can be a problem in terms of pressure as well. So. But to answer specifically your question, yes, he certainly is having quite a year, and they're going to put him anywhere they need to put him.
It's been a couple of weeks since he sort of took that role. How has Goff played, and your expectations?
Well, he's learning and growing and getting better, and he is a physical player. And the interception a couple of weeks ago was quite a play, and he continues his special teams roles and his development as a Mike backer, and he's a very conscientious young man, very, very conscientious young man, and he's making strides and learning his spot and doing well at it.
Seems like the run defense has improved greatly since you made the few changes a couple weeks ago. How much has it been because of those?
Well, it has helped. There's no doubt about it. But I think our players are very aware of the fact that this is how we play. You got to stop the run. Even the other night, 36 yards were the quarterback's yards. When you look at it, you say, geez, 5.2 yard average. That's not that good. Well, it wasn't. It was under 100 yards, and some of the runs were quarterback oriented, which naturally you're chasing the quarterback, the passer, and he comes out, he comes free. But it has improved, and we do feel better about it.
Specifically, Canty, you've seen him in extended action there. How has he done?
He's done well. He's done well. There's still some new position, new alignment things that he's going through, but fundamentally he's done a good job. He does a real good job when he's double teamed, holds the point well.
He's played a lot over the nose. I mean, is that what you imagine he would be?
Well, that's what happens in this, when you're sliding your front around, that happens, and it happens. You notice him when he's in there because that's a kind of a different spot for him. Depends on how you play it. Sometimes you play a nose and a three, and sometimes you play guys slide and play both ways.
I would imagine pad level, staying low, that kind of stuff is going to be more important for him, right?
That is, because of his height. It always is. And I think it always has been.
How do you talk about Eli's kind of taking this team without a running game, kind of taking this team?
What do you mean without a running game? I love that one. That's a beauty. What are you guys talking about? What do you watch? 2 weeks ago it was 133 yards. The other night it was, 113 yards? How can you say it's no running game?
Not the traditional power running game.
Eli's done a great job, and he's continuing to do an excellent job. He is asserted himself as a leader, and obviously the quality of his play has raised the quality of those around him, and he has to continue to do that. But there was 30 rushes the other night, so I'm not going to stand here and tell you there's no running game. Balance the other night. If anybody that's really studying, the balance was outstanding the other night. 30 and 30.
Do you make the roster move?
We're in the process, but I'm not ready to say about that just yet.
R.C. Johnson was inactive the other night for the first time since he's been on the roster and he's not had an injury. What was that?
Decision was made that we thought that it was time that we had another player as a tight end that we're going to use in that position as a blocker, etc. So we thought we'd use Bear the other night. Did okay. Did all right. He did all right. He got his feet wet, and he got in there and mixed it up really well, which we think he will do. The blocking part of it will be, I hope, the area that he does best at.